everyone, this is Henny from Pink Elephant Media, and in this section we're going to talk to you about how you actually execute the idea that you have. So you have your product, you've done your research, you've looked for opportunities, you've looked at the strengths and the weaknesses. Now we need to think about how do you get this product or service out to market. So the first thing we need to do is look at your research. Which marketing channels are there out there? Which ones are the most likely that you're going to want to use? And we look at that based on competitor research. We also want to think about ideas. So how are we going to actually get our message across? What ideas have we got? So let's brainstorm and experiment with as many ideas as possible with your team. If you don't have a team, think about bringing people in from networking groups or people that you actually trust to come on board and come up with some ideas for how you reach out and get your message across. Then we need to rank these ideas, and you can do that using the BRASS technique, which we've listed below. But the BRASS technique is about about your gut feeling. How relevant is this going to be to your channel? That's the R. Whether it's a good product channel fit for your product. Think about the technique, about how you're going to actually get out to your audience, the cost that it's going to be, how easy it is to set up that channel. So that's the availability. The ease and the cost is the availability. How easy is it to set up a channel? How long will it take? How much will it cost? Do you have all the resources that you need? The scalability, how scalable is that channel? So can you get more and more and more out of it, or is there a limitation on how many people you can have? And each of these things will create a score. And what you want to do is add those scores up at the end, and the one with the highest scores are the ideas that you want to check to keep. We need to outline this experiment. So you need to sort of design your experiment as quickly as possible. We don't want to spend ages doing it. Then we execute that. And then you actually study and implement the outcome by analysing the data from all the experiments that you've got, because there isn't just one route to market. There are many routes to market in different ways. So you may choose Facebook as an example, and you may have 5 or 6 different ads that may go out on Facebook. So you want to know which ones are the best, because we need to then change budgets into those. So it's always about testing and analysing your data, quick experimentation and studying the outcome from that. So when you brainstorm, you want to brainstorm based upon your goals. So an example of this, if a taxi company wanted to increase its driver base in each region by 20%, then it needs to brainstorm ways to achieve this key result. So they could generate ideas by researching how their competitors are securing drivers. And once they have got those ideas, this team could try and poke holes in them by asking questions by why, what if, what happens if this happens, what about this? Its teams could even look outside the industry and look at how other marketplaces are increasing its supply side, because the more dots you have, the more ideas you have. But last but not least, your ideas need to be smart. They need to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Because if they're not, they're going to take too long. They're never going to get off the ground. So by looking at these ideas, scoring these ideas using the BRASS technique, then you are going to have some very solid routes to market straight away. And by looking at your competitors, again, you are going to know where to actually put your marketing efforts. We've talked about the T-shaped marketing framework, but many customer acquisitions just focus on the top line growth because they consider that to be the most sort of exciting parts, where you're designing an ad and you're creating landing pages. And it is the more sexy part of creating a sales funnel. Although what we also need to look at is increasing your activation, your retention, your revenue rates, And these are undoubtedly vital to the company growth. And there are a few more things satisfying than seeing the top line of your user chart of your company grow month after month. And that's not all vanity. Top line growth is also important enough to drive traffic, to experiment, to grab attention for your product or service, and to drive traffic through your funnel. But it's actually even better if you are thinking about the retention rate, how much revenue you can drive out of those visitors, and also how you can give them a positive experience so they go on and become an advocate of your brand over time. And so we need to think about all the different parts, the branding, how you drive traffic, how you convert that traffic into actual leads, how you nurture the leads, how you then close the sale, and then actually analysing that data all the way through. And although there are loads and loads of possibility, we don't want you to feel overwhelmed, because by using the brass technique, by scoring which experiments you think are the most likely, if you give a score to each one, then you will find very, very quickly there'll be 2 or 3 channels that will work very, very well for you and will limit your options down while spreading your risk. So whether you've already identified a channel or you haven't identified a channel yet, this framework will help you identify which is the best way to go. And again, we've talked about this, but this is a really sort of good visual view of general marketing. So general marketing looks at raising awareness, it looks at acquisition, but we actually want that client to do something. We want to retain, we want to keep them on our site. We also want them to return again and again and again and again. So those retention levels are really important, because return clients are twice as likely to purchase or buy from you than people who are visiting you for the first time. We then want to squeeze as much revenue out of them as possible. So we need to think about the journey. It's not about just the acquisition. It is about the acquisition followed by coming to the landing page, followed by the upsells, the downsells, associated services along the way. And then them having an incredibly positive experience where you've nurtured them as a client and they go on and say to people, this is a company that I want to work with. I've had a great experience, and they are become an advocate of your brand. But we need to think about how we talk to these different groups of people. So they might be at the early stages of your business. So how do we speak to them? They are discovering your brand, they're conducting their own research, they might be collecting information. So here we want to look at things like unique page visits, pages per visit, bounce rate, time spent, social media shares, downloads. We need to know what the success metric is to know whether this has been successful or not. So again, we want to think about where on the buying funnel are they? What sort of information do they need at those stages of the marketing funnel? So this is an example of a marketing funnel that has been done by Netflix. So they have come from Netflix from many different places, maybe from Facebook, maybe from TV ads, maybe from LinkedIn. Not that I ever see them on LinkedIn, but as an example. They've arrived at the site, they've answered the question, see what's next, watch anywhere, cancel anytime. They've answered the no, they've answered any objections that they have on their website. And they've given them an incentive. And then what they do is they get their incentive to join 3 for 30 days. And you can see they've got a timeline here, makes it very easy to see where they are on the buyer stage of the journey. But wait a minute, they've probably got more questions. So here, they've thought about that. They've thought about the questions that their clients would have. They've shown you that you can enjoy it wherever you are. You can download it. You can watch it on your TV. And then they've also shown you what it's going to cost afterwards. Once you're happy with that, you create an account, you become a buyer. They know full well once you become a buyer, you're very unlikely at this stage to actually cancel that membership. So you carry on with your membership, and that is how they retain the revenue. And they also give you a great experience. They bring new things all the time. Appears to me, just as I'm about to cancel, they'll bring something else in to keep me there, and they know that. They know their figures. Now, in July 2018, Netflix had 72.9 million monthly users. Their site is so simplistic. There's not a lot of confusing copy. You know exactly what you're getting. They change their background images based on what movies they're showing or being promoted, but it is very easy. And they also offer a risk reversal where you can cancel anytime without being locked into a contract. So they're giving incentives, and they've answered the no. And these are really important. Often people don't think about how their website can work incredibly hard for them in terms of nurturing those relationships and getting people to actually activate and sign up. And there's no point putting up products or service pages if you don't know what you're trying to achieve in the first place, and how to market the product or service you are, and how you're going to monitor it, because it's completely wasted time. But after that, you actually need to think about how you're going to nurture your contact. So what have you got out there for them that's going to help them? And we can do that by using email marketing. Now, we have a course for email marketing, so please sign up for the course. But this allows you to actually create a really positive experience for your client, take them on the journey that you want, improve their interaction so they get those 7 points of interaction with you. Even if they aren't buying or purchasing from you yet, they've given you an email address, you've got that, and you're able then to market for them. That is a really key way of getting them to become a customer of yours. The other thing we also need to think about is the content. What are they interested in? By knowing what they're interested in, this allows us to deliver more of what they want. So again, there's loads of resources out there, which I will list below. But again, we want to content hack. We want to look at what are your clients talking about? How do they like to be spoken to? Does it fit with what? Does your promotion fit with the way the audience likes to be spoken to? Does it have good SEO content? Has it got good viral growth? Does it have any opportunities within the copy to make more money? So as an example of that, Hotmail in the late 90s had a sign up form for you to create a Hotmail account, but on the bottom of every email that you sent, once you'd signed up and you were sending an email off to your best friend, on the bottom you would have seen a little thing that said, PS, I love you. Get your free inbox at Hotmail. And so every time they sent an email, it had that on, and that led to a result of 12 million users signing up within a year. So think outside the box. Think of every which way you can squeeze more out of what you've already got. It has to fit with what you do. It has to be a good product fit, a good markup fit. It has to be a good content fit. But a growth hacker will always want to be focused on the growth in traffic, the growth in content, and ultimately the growth in your bottom line. But looking at what your competitors are doing, and again, the growth hacking tools are listed below, but things like BuzzSumo, looking at Quora question and answer sites, look at what people are talking about, what they're complaining about. These allow you to really understand what it is that your market base want to hear about. And then we have to think about ways that we can deliver that to them. An advert that went viral some time ago was Old Spice adverts, which were just funny. And they went viral across the web, and they were no more than just funny. They had a really old product that had been seen time and time again, and just by switching it up, by changing their advertising method, it led to an explosion of growth really quickly with a new market base. Also, one of the main things that you have to think about when creating copy content is to think about what headline does it have? How am I going to grab their attention? You need to make the content shareable, and you can use things like guests to contribute, blogs, write longer copy because that gives you more chance to appear for SEO. Include FAQs. They drive a huge amount of traffic into your site. Tell stories. People love storytelling. They can get involved in that. They understand what that means for their business, and it helps them apply that to their business. But also don't forget to include facts. There's two types of buyers out there. Ones that are very heartfelt and the other side that are very factual. So what we want to do is marry those two together to make sure that you are giving enough of one and enough of another. If you're going to tell a story, litter it with some facts and some figures for those that are much more analytically based. And answer the no. There's going to be thousands of no's. Our clients come to us all the time. They've got millions of questions. Think about the questions that you get asked all the time and try to evade those as much as possible. There's always a way of evading the issues that you have. Now, I'm just going to talk to you about some of the most common content that is on websites that we see all the time that often are lacking straight away in what they've got because someone has just written what they do and that is it. What we need to do is think about who is consuming this copy that we're reading, because it's all about them. It is nothing to do with you. It is what you give them. So we talked about their goals. Well, when we're writing copy for their goals and we're thinking about the sales funnels that we're putting together, we need to actually think about their outcome. But we don't want to lose sight of our goal. What are we trying to make them do? And what are we going to give away to get them to do that? Is it a download, a white paper? Is it information? Is it a webinar? Is it a free product, a discount? Ultimately, we want to collect that email address. An email address is a unique IP address that tells us so much. It's a digital passport. It tells us so much about what they like, what they do. If you have a website that can identify, once they've filled out an email address via their IP, exactly what they like, what they're interested in, it will allow us to nurture those relationships and ultimately turn them into leads. So by researching what our customer wants, we can ensure that that is on the page. We need to add an elevator pitch. So I want you to think, whenever you're writing a service page or a product page for that matter, what is it that our client wants here? So if it was a lighter, say it's windproof, it lights in the wind, you might be advertising that specifically to campers as an idea. We need to start with that in mind, how many lights it does, how windy it can be, add videos to that. And then we want to go out to maybe the camping community and show them this. This is all part of a funnel, but what we want to do is make sure that we've got an elevator pitch at the top. So if you had to persuade your perfect client by the time they reach floor 10 to buy this, what would you have on it? And so you want it to be structured with an elevator pitch right at the top to grab their attention. You want the features versus the benefits. You need to answer the no, and on service pages where possible, you want to have real life case studies to prove that you say you can do what you're going to do. Now, sometimes, like in our case, clients they're very happy to talk about us, but they don't want to necessarily be up our website and show their competitors what it is that we've done for them. So those are hidden. But where you can, you definitely want to show them. You need to add FAQs. I've talked about those bringing huge traffic numbers in. Avoid jargon. So often I see sites written with flowery words where they think they're being clever, but actually then no one understands them. You want a call to action. You need to capture email addresses. That's a great way to get them back and to be able to remarket to them. Price or not to price, entirely up to you. We get that question all the time, and you want to dazzle them with testimonials where you can. People want to know that you can do what you say you can do, so show them that. If it's a product, you need to think about your customer. What do they get from this? And Popeye is a great example of this. He eats a can of spinach, he becomes incredibly strong, and that is the result. It's really clear, and you need to make sure that you do that. Don't forget, telling a story is a great idea because it provides context. shows the challenge, it shows the solution, the benefit that you had on that, and the result that it came about as a result. One of the things when writing copy is that you want to ensure at the end of every page that you write, and what we do when we go through with our clients for their sites is we look at the Kona Principle for information. It needs to be broad and generic at the top and then very detailed as you go down the page, because people who read down are generally quite interested. And then I want you to reflect on the page of copy that you have written, or the ads that you've written, and the sales funnels that you've put together. And just check, does it meet your goal? If it doesn't, why are you doing it? Does it meet your prospect's goal? What are you selling? What's in it for them? What problem does it actually solve? Because the most successful sales funnel, it's solving something that doesn't exist, or it's coming at it in a different way. Does it have good SEO content on there? Now, SEO is really important. It's the backbone of your marketing efforts, because if you don't have it, you're constantly going to be paying for traffic to come to your site, whether that is in time and effort spent on social media or in money in terms of running ads. Does it have data capture? Have you asked them to actually do something there? Does it have an activation point on each page? And does it show them that they can trust you? If you've covered those elements, then you've made a really, really good stab at getting your page right and your sales funnels right. And I want you to work through each of those stages on each of the copy, on the ads, on the landing pages, on the acquisition, and then the nurturing journey thereafter. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about search engine optimization, because I understand it's the most oversold, underdelivered product on the market, but it is huge. And if you don't have it, you will consistently be paying for traffic to come to your site. So an example here that we have got is thinking about the words that you use. And we talked about SEMrush as a tool for being able to look at the words that your competitors use. And what it does is it will tell you what words they're using, how much traffic that is driving to their website, and how much of that traffic they actually get. And by understanding the keywords that they're using and whether they're winning for them, that will allow us to apply those to our website. But words are only one part of it. And recently there has been a new advance called Schema Markup, which basically ranks the pages for the sites to say this is what this website is about. And I'll show you that in a little minute. And that gives the search engine certainty as to what the page is about. And here is a site that we optimized in September 2019. And even when the pandemic's hitting, you can see an explosion of growth is happening across that site. And that is because we put Schema Markup on the site. Now, this allows us to say, this is a local business. This is a product. This is a recipe. What's in that recipe? This is a job posting. If it's a local business, what type of local business? So here's one that we've marked up that says this is a legal service. This is a project that they have done. These are some of the reviews that they've got. And again, we can pull all that information through. So once we've thought about all of that, the other thing we need to think about is your website. And so in this section, we are going to talk about your website, because if your website isn't fit for purpose, it doesn't really matter how much of this you do, it's not going to work. So we need to talk to you about how you get your website to really work hard for you.